Ah, mysterious elf. How do you do, sir? This effing guy. Mysterious elf. This austere, refined-looking elf is browsing the shop's collection of talisman, herbs, and crystals. Noting your approach, he turns to face you. Good evening, my friend. I hope it has been a pleasant one. I've had worse, I guess. His lips quirk upward in a slight smile. Indeed, with so much misery and pain only meters away, permeating the walled city. Worse is a quality that is quite tangible here in Hioi. I do not envy those trapped within those boundaries. What are you doing here, Aljernon? My name is Aljernon Half-Dream, and it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Aljernon does not extend his hand, but he does incline his head politely. It is not quite a bow, but almost. You've got some interesting eyes, Aljernon. Why? You've got some interesting eyes, Aljernon. Do I? I've never really thought about them, to tell you the truth. They allow me to see, and there our relationship ends. Surely there must be many people in Hioi with interesting eyes. Cyber surgery is so common these days as to be almost routine. Most people's eyes don't glow, Aljernon. I suppose that's true, but there are so many inexplicable quirks of genetics in this post-awakening world. Birds that summon lightning, dogs that breathe fire, cats that transform into lions. Glowing eyes seem like a small thing, taken in comparison to all of those. You don't sound like a local. No, I am not, I admit, though I have been to Hong Kong many times in the past. I was acquainted with Meow's mother, Eleanor. Her name's Eleanor? She has an English name? Aljernon spares a moment to survey the shop. I must say, it's been kept in wonderful condition, if not improved somewhat. Where are you originally from? Oh, that's a loaded question. I have been traveling my entire life, and rarely stay in one local for long. I would consider nowhere and everywhere my home. When you speak as many languages as I do, it's inevitable that they begin to bleed together, though I've always had a particular fondness for Cantonese. It has a lyrical quality few other languages can match. I mean, lyrical is a polite way of saying it. It's kind of dissonant, actually. So Chinese is a tonal language, and Cantonese especially is. Cantonese is like an older form of Chinese. Mandarin has 4 tones, so each sound has 4 different tones. Cantonese has 9 tones. Each sound, so each consonant and verb combination has 9 different tones, and then they're all different words. It's a real pain in the ass to learn. If you don't learn it as a first language, if you learn it subsequently, it's a real pain in the ass to learn. You've been in the walled city? No. There's a leaden finality to Aljernon's tone. He pauses for a moment before elaborating. I have looked around outside and spoken to some residents who trade at the edge, but I have not entered it. Are you able to enter it? The misery and hopelessness of those within it is overpowering, and I would prefer not to venture too near such a well of negativity. But those emotions have colored and warped astral space in a unique fashion, one that I felt was worth studying, albeit from afar. Yes? Do you know what's going on in there, Aljernon? He shakes his head sadly. It's such a waste of human potential. To think of all the ways the world and fate have failed those people. Are you a mage or a shaman? What makes you think I am either of them? Perhaps I am simply an inquisitive soul. Aljernon smiles and gestures towards the racks of magical accessories on the wall. Of course, a merely inquisitive soul would not be interested in purchasing any of this. Perhaps I am both, or neither. The nature of magic is fluid, especially in these tumultuous times, so soon after the dragons have awoken. Too many people try to draw binary divisions between methods of thaumaturgy. Is that thaumaturgy? Is that what is? How do you pronounce that? At the heart of things, there is will, there is power, and there is change. Thanks, Aljernon. I can't believe they keep putting Aljernon in these games, and they don't let you ask him more detailed questions. Do you know what's happening in the walled city, Aljernon? Safe travels, my friend. Because clearly Aljernon goes wherever there are problems, and he kind of contributes towards solving those problems. Do you know what's going on, Aljernon? Can you help me? Jin, look who's back. Why don't you go egg a cow or something and leave us alone? Still having the dreams. This again, don't you have anything better to do? I'm still having the dreams. This is exactly the same. Alright, they're just repeating the same conversation. That's kind of disappointing. I'm still thinking whether I give the chips to Reliable Matthew or not. Reliable Matthew appears to have gotten his medicine again. He regards you with steely eyes and a big shark-like grin. Well, well, look who's here. How may I help you, beautiful? Let's just get our business over with. Steely eyes and a big shark-like grin. Alright, I don't have anything to say to him. So he got his medicine from somewhere else. Also, this is new. What is this? Wait, there's a medkit just sitting here. Was that always there? So he has his medicine and we can't talk to him about it. Look at drones. Exit. And it's like nothing ever happened. That's really weird and creepy. Oh, hey, team meeting. You enter the trawler to find your crew gathered together waiting for you. Isabel has her head buried in her PDA. The rest of them stand watching her, trying to be patient. What's going on, dudes? Isabel paces up and back, trying to decide how to begin. I've been doing my homework on Josephine Sang and Sang Mechanical Services. You're pacing, so that tells me you found something. Oh yeah, I found something, alright. Isabel lifts her PDA to her face and consults her notes. In 2011, Sang Mechanical Services was a D-level corp floundering in the shallow end of the Hong Kong corporate pool. That's when Josephine Shui married into the family. Josephine thought big. She conceived of a massive project that would catapult TMS into the big time, something she called the Prosperity Project. Prosperity. That's what Raymond was mumbling about. What's the Prosperity Project? Once upon a time in the 1900s, the walled city was a densely populated slum, something like 30,000 people crammed into 6.5 acres. Yep. Wait, I've heard this story before. It's a shithole, hell on earth, yada yada yada. It was a different kind of shithole. That's today's walled city, the second walled city. The first walled city started life well over 100 years ago and lasted through both world wars and almost through to the Awakening. It was torn down in 1994 when the government had finally had enough. It had become such a haven for criminals that the cops would only enter it in large well-armed groups. Sounds familiar? In 2021, Josephine Sang proposed a vision for a new type of low-income housing project. The Prosperity Project, a self-contained, low-cost walking neighborhood for the poor, but on a grand scale. The Prosperity Project would give Hong Kong's poor and the flood of refugees pouring into the country a place they could call their own, something that felt more permanent than the sprawling tent city that spontaneously sprang up after the first walled city was demolished. So that's a bad idea. Like, concentrating all the poor people in one place is a bad idea. It makes it easy for the rest of the city to basically ostracize and ignore them. And so then it just becomes a self-defeating cycle of poverty and crime. So the way you deal with poor people is you need to like intersperse them with rich people. And through their interactions with richer people, they find opportunities to get jobs or like, you know, start businesses and get out of that poverty. Because like you need to put them amongst people who do have money to spend. If you just keep them amongst other people who also don't have money to spend, nothing happens. So having low-cost housing in between or in amongst like a more economically privileged housing is the best way to go. The Prosperity Project would replace the tent city and would be symbolically built on the site of the old walled city. The slogan was, "A place of dignity where prosperity begins." Yeah, that's not gonna work. The apartments weren't much bigger than the space you'd get in your average coffin motel, but they were built around plazas and marketplaces that contained goods and services catering to the poor. The government forgot the lessons of the last walled city. They loved the idea of containing the refugees and the poor to only a few densely populated blocks that kept them out of the public eye. Securing the contract catapulted Sang Mechanical Services' fortunes ahead. It eventually put Josephine Sang onto the executive council. One slum made her rich. It's a very big slum. Apparently that was also the beginning of a series of lucrative building contracts that propelled TMS into the big time. I mean, the prosperity was for them, wasn't it? It wasn't for the people in the walled city. It was for the corporation. Where's Raymond come into all this? Raymond Black doesn't come into it at all, but Edward Sang does. Edward Sang. That's your foster father's real name. Is that right? Raymond Black was actually Edward Sang, the only son of Josephine Sang and her late husband, Breakwater Sang. Edward was in charge of laying the groundwork for the walled city, excavation and utilities, running in power lines, sewage, that kind of thing. So our secret foster grandmother's trying to kill us. It looks that way, yeah. Rector chuckles softly to himself. It's not funny, Rector. Actually, it is. Yes, Rector, laugh at humanity and their awfulness towards each other. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Remember that massive grey water leak that flooded the basement back in 48? Remember when we got back from that camping trip in the Salish, Ray screamed bloody murder about that. Yeah, remember what happened to Mrs. Maloney? Wait, what about it? Ray didn't know the first thing about sewer lines. He hired a small army of plumbers, probably paid them double what the job was worth to fix the thing. And it still took almost 2 months to get the leak under control. And Josephine put him in charge of the utilities. No wonder the walled city smells like that. I don't think Raymond had anything to do with the utilities in the walled city. So if this man was not in charge of the utilities for the project, what was he doing down there? I don't know, but Edward Zhang disappeared from the public eye shortly after Prosperity was completed, around 2031. That's about the time he moved to Seattle, around 7 years before he found us. But what happened in the Walled City? And what would make Raymond want to go back in there now after all these years? Wait, we can't... we just... Alright, so the conversation gets to this point, and then the game just cuts it off. Alright, next time. We'll talk about it next time. I don't know, but I intend to find out. That's a question for later. For now, let's make some money. Doesn't matter. What matters is payback. What do you mean? I want to know. Anyway, I don't know, but I intend to find out. And that's it. The game is just take the story, chop it up into bits, and then spread it out. I don't know, man. That's like... They chopped the story up in the wrong place there. Like, it was just starting to get good, and it's like, alright, well, see you next time. I mean... Alright, let's talk to our team. Wait, I can't get into... Oh, I can get into my stash. Duncan! You find Wu sitting on his bed and staring at the floor when you come into his cabin. He rubs his head up and back, occasionally stopping to softly bounce his palm against his forehead. When he notices you, he closes his eyes and shakes his head. Not in the mood to talk right now. I gotta wrap my brain around this Edward Zhang thing. Tough finding out Raymond isn't who we thought he was. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking. 16 years. We lived with him 16 years and we never knew the man. 16 motherfucking years. Yeah... I just gotta think, work through this. Alright, you keep working through it. You take your time, man.